Good morning and happy Festivus Eve. If you're a fan of the Seinfeld show like I am, yeah, tomorrow is Festivus. All right, so we'll do a Festivus theme, kind of, with today's recap of the games from Saturday night. Of course, there were only 6 or 7 games because, we're not going to get into all that. All right. Starting right off, just recapping a couple games quickly. It was a Festivus miracle of sorts in Withville, Virginia, as the Blue Ridge Bobcats sweep the Carolina Thunderbirds on the weekend. 4-3 is the final. Was 4-2 at one point, and Carolina got a late goal to make things extremely interesting. But nonetheless, yeah, the Bobcats hold on. Crowd of 2970. That is the biggest crowd in Withville's short history. Tuned in and was like, wow, there's almost a full crowd there. It's fantastic to see. Okay, so the winning goaltender was Hunter Vorostek, stopping 40 of 43, including a couple of really big saves late. And Boris Babic takes the loss. He saves, 25 of 29. Not a bad night, but it's just a little bit too much Blue Ridge. So yeah, this is big for the Bobcats organization. I mean, they've been looking for this really big win, and I think they've got it now. Game-winning goal, it was Devin Sanders scoring 12:57 of the second period. That was at the time made it 4-2, and they hold on and get themselves a nice win. Other game we're just going to quickly highlight. Yeah, and this is the second time this year that Sean Kuhn of the Moccasins has gone into an overtime in a 0-0 tie, only to, it slips away in the extra time. So, typically you would think, okay, you're scoreless through 60, must have been a boring game. Nope, not at all. Very exciting game. I was able to catch about the last, I'd say 25 minutes of it. Anyway, so yeah, Brendan Colgan for the Zydeco. Let's talk about him for a second because he hit a couple of milestones. All right, 13th career shutout. Now, I don't know what happened to the Fed records. You go into the records and you access his stats. He only has 7 shutouts listed. He has 13. The 2 seasons ago, he had 7 shutouts in the 1 year. And for some reason, he's only getting credit for 2. So that's very unfortunate. But nonetheless, yeah. So big milestone as well. His 50th career win. I'm going to have to double check, but I believe that is tops among active goaltenders right now in the FPHL. MJ Graham tips in a Dmitry Kuznetsov shot at just 39 seconds into the overtime session to get the win. Good crowd on hand, too. You would expect that for Baton Rouge. But yeah, so those are some really big numbers from Colgan. I have a feeling you might be seeing him in tomorrow's video. All right, so let's change boards real quick here. And with keeping with the theme, I forgot to mention, yes, so Colgan gets his Festivus bagel. All right. These are the games I was tuned into for their entirety. Mississippi comes up a little short. It's difficult when you're playing with a short bench to begin with. It was just too much Prowlers in the long run, and so the Prowlers end up getting a nice 5-2 win. Um, Tight game in the first period. As far as defensively for Mississippi, they surrendered 20 shots to the Prowlers in the first period, but a lot of those were kind of from the outside, not difficult shots. A couple of really good saves by Sammy Best in that first period. But yeah, so it is Reggie Millette. He scored. That was the teddy bear goal. So, all the teddy bears came down. There were a couple of teddy bear games. 1856 of the first period. And so we go into the first intermission. It's 1-0 Prowlers, but they do have that 20-10 shot advantage. In the second, it's Stefan Deasy scoring at 13:41. And then suddenly defense became optional. And nobody played much defense in the next few minutes because we just had a flurry of goals. Deasy started it off. Tucker Scantlebury scores a minute 40 later. Oh, yeah, but in between, and for some reason I switched this. Just what was it? It was a minute after the Deasy goal uh, that Curtis Hanson scored a power play goal for the Seawolves to make it 2-1. Then Scantlebury scores us 40 seconds later, makes it 3-1. And then Alex Johnson scores another minute and a half later, 4-1. So yeah, and then and then another minute and a half later, it's Sam Leckel scoring for Mississippi. So yeah, it was just several goals in a very short period of time. In 5 minutes, under 5 minutes, we had 5 goals. So I'm not sure what happened there. So shots were 13-12 in favor of Port Huron in the second period. Obviously, both coaches went into the locker room. Sam Turner being the coach today for Mississippi. They both talked to the team. It's like, we got to play some defense. And so in the third period, only one goal for the entire period, and that was Matt Graham scoring. Matt Graham made a note there with his night. He's now up to 488 points, 12 points away from becoming the fourth player in Fed history to reach 500. So yeah, that's your final 5-2. Mississippi 29 shots on goal, but Port Huron 52. So, and you don't usually see that much offense from the Prowlers, so that was a good night for them. They improved to 10-10-2. Mississippi improves to 3-16-1, or they fall to 3-16-1. Attendance is 1273 for that game. So it is Reed Cooper getting his third win, I believe, now. 27 saves and 29 opportunities. Sam Best, he put forth a good effort, 47 saves, and this wasn't enough. So yeah, Matt Graham with a goal and 2 assists on the night. He was the big scorer for the game. All right, in Binghamton, we had the Black Bears hosting the Rockers. The Rockers coming off a high-scoring affair in in Danbury the night before, and Binghamton was having none of that. Although Binghamton did help out the the Rockers just a little bit. All right, getting to the game, and it's Gonzalez playing again. Babin was dressed as a backup, but apparently, they want to give him a little bit more time to finish healing up. So he never went on IR. He's been on the roster the whole time, but not able to play. But Gonzalez starts again. I believe this was his 12th consecutive start. But anyway, so McAnanima starting in that for Binghamton, and no, he did not get into a fight this time. I guess there was no Marble Rise hanging around or something. That's a different Seinfeld episode. Anyway, so Scott Ramekers opens the scoring, 8:39 in, and makes it 1-0. 12-19, very weird goal. the Rockers get the puck in, shot from the high slot. Um, McAnanama makes a save, and I didn't even catch which defensive man it was, but there was a defensive man right to the side of McAnanama and ended up tapping it into their own goal. Tellstrom took the initial shot, so he gets credit with the goal at 12:19. Very unusual. You know it's not good when you just see a defenseman go. It happens sometimes. All right, so 1-1 at the end of one. Shots in that first period, 22-3 for Binghamton. So despite the one goof up, the defense played pretty well. Okay, so into the second period we go, and finally, Dan Weber gets on the board. He's been looking for a goal for quite some time. Puck that just barely squeaked over the line. Initially, the shot was ruled no goal. Went to the instant replay. The puck had just trickled past Gonzalez, who was in the butterfly. You could just see a little bit of white ice between that red line and the puck. So, yeah, Binghamton uses their challenge, and it is ruled good goal. And there you go. There's the system actually being used properly and working properly. So Dan Weber gets on board. And then, so that's the only goal of the second period, but the shots are 17-6. So through two, it's 39-9 in shots. So yeah, Motor City just was not able to get offensive opportunities until the third period. Then they started getting some circling going, and they did a little bit better. In the third period, though, it was Gavin Yates who scores a very patient goal. Ends up skating around, holding the puck, finding an opening, and then letting go with a shot. And when it goes in, that's at 119. Tyson Kirkby adds a goal, shorthanded at 14:27. And then finally, Avery Smith able to score in a conventional manner for the Rockers at 16:26. And that was it. 4-2 was your final score. Shots ending up being 55-18. So yeah, Tellstrom gets credited with that goal. That's why I did the quotation marks. I mean, he did take the initial shot, and it was a good shot. It was saved, but nonetheless, there you go. Avery Smith gets the other goal. Gonzalez stops another 51 stops. His save percentage is really, really good. His win-loss record, not so much, but yeah, what are you going to do? Gavin Yates, a goal and assist for the Binghamton Black Bears. Kirkby with a goal. And Connor McAnanama stops 16 of 18. Not a very busy night. Crowd 39-82 on hand for that. Then we get to a very, very chippy, contentious matchup between the two Georgia teams. Columbus from the west side, Athens on the east side. They meet this time in Athens. The previous night's game was in Columbus. Home and home series makes sense. Never more than the one goal difference in this game. And a lot of extracurriculars, a lot of airing of grievances. So that carried over from Friday night's game. Later in that game, things were getting pretty chippy. There were a lot of square dances going on. So we get into the game, and it's Jack Basta in goal this time for the Athens Rock Lobsters. Petizian gets a second consecutive start for the River Dragons, and played pretty darn well. All right, so it's Garrett Milan scoring again. It's what he does. 11:18 of the first period to put Athens up. And I didn't notice this so much with the first night a couple weeks ago in Athens. But it's a very polite crowd. I will say that that's the best way I can describe it. A very polite crowd. I mean, there's not much hooting and hollering and carrying on. It's just, um, Athens scores and everybody goes, yeah, claps their hands. And I was like, it's almost like being in the theater. Very pleasant crowd. Anyway, Garrett Milan, and he gets the standing ovation from the crowd, puts Athens up 1-0. It is Ryan Hunter scoring in a 4-on-4 situation late in the period, 1:10 to go, and so it's 1-1. The players on the ice were not quite so polite as the crowd was. We'll say that. We had had a couple little minor scruffles up to this point, a little bit of pushing and shoving, but then at 1953, excuse me, everything just breaks loose. We have a full blown Donnybrook on the ice. No goaltenders involved, but everybody else decided to pair up and yeah, express their problems with the other people. So Portillo gets kicked out of the game for continuing an altercation. Gotten in a fight, got separated, gotten into another fight, and Connor Lind as well for the River Dragons. Both of those two were given the gate um, for a second altercation. And then, yeah, I mean that's only 7 seconds left in the period. They drop the puck. They play the next 7 seconds, and then there's another big meet up, and yeah, what was it? Tom Callahan said, it's like they're exchanging cookie recipes, and they can't come to an agreement on how much sugar to put in the cookies. I love that. That was a beautiful call. Okay, so after one, shots are 12-12. It's 1-1. Second period, it's Malik Johnson scoring at 16:35. I'm sorry, that's not a 6. That's supposed to be a 0. But if you saw my notes, you'd see it looks like a 6. It was 10:35. So, yeah, he scores to put Athens up. And then there is an opportunity for a penalty shot. Yeah, 17:34. Petesian makes a beautiful save. It was very spectacular. So the game goes on. 2-1 at the end of 2 in favor of Athens. Columbus with the shot advantage, 27-20, but and that's not where it mattered the most. However, Kirk Underwood started to take care of that problem. In the third period, he scores at 7:58, tying things up. Garrett Milan scores again, 9:59, and so now Athens is back up, and it's getting late. It's looking like Athens is going to hold on and even up the home and home. But nope, Cody Wickline scores with the extra attacker. Petesian is pulled. Wickline scores with 19:07 to put the thing into overtime. Nothing happens in overtime. Shots were 2-1 in overtime. 10-10 in third, by the way. And then we go to the shootout. So Cody Wickline in the third round, he ends up beating Bostat. And that was it. Petesian made his save. And game over. So Columbus ends up with a sweep, although they only take 4 points. Very interesting. So Columbus is now 13-3-3, and Athens falls to 10-2-2. The final and 2 coming this weekend. 38 shots on goal for Columbus, 32 for Athens. So Cody Wickline, he has a goal, an assist, and the shootout winner. Had the goals by Underwood and Hunter. Also, for the Rock Lobsters, it was Malik Johnson scoring goal and assist. Garrett Milan had 2 goals. Danil Gulkarov, he assisted on every goal by Athens, so he had a 3-apple night. Not bad. Petesian, he makes the 29 saves plus the 3 in the shootout for the win. Bostat 35 of 38 plus 2. So there we go. Now Columbus is in second place. Final game up in Watertown, and I've got to tip my cap to the team, to Justin Coachman, keeping his team prepared because even losing the day before to the Hudson Valley, the team was competitive. I thought with all the drama that had gone on this last week that it could be an opportunity for Watertown to just fall apart on the ice, and they didn't. So Coachman kept the team together, kept them playing well, kept them competitive, and there you go. So Watertown ends up with a win on the weekend as another shootout affair. Trevor Newman is the first scorer of the game, scoring at exactly 15 minutes of the first period, um, putting one past Connor McCollum. And on the other end, well, Borodkin, he'd face a little bit of adversity. Jeremy Rocky scores at 4:07 of the second period to even things up. It was a pretty it's typical game between Watertown and Danbury. Yeah, it was close, at least in the first period, 13-11 shot department for Danbury. In the second, it just became wide open. Everybody was just skating. There wasn't a lot of physicality, which is a little unusual. But nonetheless, in that second period, after Rocky had scored, uh, it was Matthew Halle scoring. Now, he'd just gotten signed earlier that day, been playing in the EOSHL, senior hockey, and had himself a real nice debut as Halle scores to put Watertown up in the second. Jacob Radcliffe scores at 11:38 to even things up. So at the end of two, it's tied up at two, but shots in that second period 25 for Danbury, 25, and 16 for Watertown. So yeah, there were a lot of pucks flying. Basically, if anyone saw a little bit of daylight, no matter whether they were in the crease, in the slot, out by the face-off circles, whatever, they were just taking shots. A lot of rubber flying, but only 2-2. In the third period, it is Matthew Halle, scoring again 9:58 to put Watertown up. And then they started to clamp down on the defense. Danbury would get a few shots here and there, but they were more perimeter shots until Gleb Van Durken. I have to look at his name to be able to say it for some reason. Van Durken scores at 19:22. McCollum had been pulled, so yeah, there's a flurry of activity in front of Borodkin, and finally the puck gets in. To tie things up at 3. So through the 3 periods, shots were 49-34 in favor of Danbury. So Danbury is getting a lot of shots on lately, but not getting the results, unfortunately. Not as often as they'd like. So nothing doing in the overtime. We go to the shootout, and Watertown elects to go first. Trevor Lord scores just nice short side shot, nothing fancy. He didn't try and pull McCollum out of Deke, and he just came down, shot the puck, and goes in, and that was it. The other shots are all saved, so 1-0 shootout win, a 4-3 win for Watertown. For the game, Rocky for Danbury, he gets a goal and assist. Alexander Vasilev, he gets 2 assists. McCollum saves 32 of 35 plus 2 in the shootout. Meanwhile, for the Wolves, Trevor Newman has a goal and an assist. Matthew Halle ends up with the 2 goals, and of course Lord with the shootout winner. Borodkin, on his part, saves 47 for 50 plus the 3 in the shootout. This was the really bizarre thing of the game. One minor penalty given to Chase Harwell, and that was it. So Watertown goes 0 for 1 on the power play. Danbury goes 0 for 0, I guess you can say. Very unusual to see only 2 penalty minutes in a Watertown Danbury game, but we saw it last night. So, really interesting. So, anyway, there you go. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about the results this last weekend, how your team did, how you feel about your team. Make sure to like and subscribe as well. Tomorrow we'll be back here. We will do stats and standings. Stars and standings, excuse me. Change one letter. And there we go. That will be the last video before Christmas. And I'll post my weekly schedule as I usually do on Facebook. All right. Thank you so much for watching. If I don't see you before then, have yourself a wonderful Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Blessed Kwanzaa. Happy Festivus. All that kind of good stuff. We will see you soon. Have yourselves a wonderful week ahead.